because like what's a great way to like see what people are made of than to like put them up against impossible odds. Buzz, buzz, babies. Buzz, buzz, babies. Buzz, buzz, babies. Buzz, buzz, babies. You're the kaiju guy, right? You're writing this kaiju book. You have a lot of kaiju knowledge. You like to remind me that you have that really awesome black and white Godzilla Blu-ray set that I want all the time that I haven't bought. Um, and so everybody's been talking, and I know you've seen it. You went to the theaters, maybe,
I
but like
did, yeah, yeah,
so you saw it the right way. You went and saw Godzilla minus one
yeah.
the right way. So I watched it on Netflix because I'm a fakie. What do you think made this magical? Like what essence did this bring to like universally just kind of blow everybody's mind?
Yeah. I think, I mean, it had humanity to it, you know. It was a loving, I don't even want to say homage, but like a loving nod to the original. Even like, you know, the style of the acting, the way it was shot and everything. I don't know. It was just perfect. It wasn't second guessing itself. And it wasn't trying to guess, you know, we need a bigger explosion, we need a bigger this. It really focused on just telling the best Godzilla story.
It's interesting you mentioned the humanity because in the Western, which I love the new
Hmm.
Godzilla movies. I haven't seen the new
Yeah.
Godzilla Kong, but
Yeah,
like,
I
and
haven't seen it.
I know it looks cheesy and it looks funny, but I love that. So like I feel like it's gonna resonate with me in a different way. But I love chonky
Yeah.
Godzilla. I love the pink fins, right? I'm like I love the
Yeah.
trailer. It looks fun. I've had fun with those movies, but I remember when the first one came out with Bryan Cranston, everybody got mad because they were like, why are we watching these people? I want to watch the
Right.
monsters. And then
Right.
Godzilla
Right.
King of Monsters came out, and there was barely any people in it and all monsters. And those movies got heavily critiqued for similar reasons, like too many people, not enough people.
It had a nice balance. I think that I mean I like that first legendary Godzilla, but you know the difference. It's sort of like the Pacific Rim thing in that whenever you see the monsters, it's dark, you know, or
Mhm.
it's raining, so you don't really get a glimpse of it, right? I mean, you do, but it's more kind of like with this one, it was like, dude, here's fucking Godzilla.
He's there.
Because when you watch Toho, when you watch, you see, I mean, yeah, it's a guy in a suit, it's great, but you see Godzilla and it's daytime and it's, you know, like you're getting the full effect of it.
Yeah.
So I think with this film, I think they found that right balance of the story and the monster, and you actually got to appreciate the monster. You got to
Yeah.
actually see the monster. You know, you actually got to see Godzilla. It wasn't like that third act was during the day. It wasn't like at night in a stormy
Hmm.
thing where you're seeing really shadows and glimpses and whatever. It was like, no, you're here for Godzilla. We're gonna give you Godzilla. You
I
know?
liked that was how we did first see God. Like that we saw like the smaller Godzilla like
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah, yeah,
night. That's just like there might be some spoilers here, folks, but like straight up eating people like a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tyrannosaurus
Yeah,
Rex
that
from
was
Jurassic
wild,
Park,
man.
and like
Yeah,
actually not even eating the people, like snagging them and flinging them, like
yeah,
just it was ruthless. Yeah, I loved this the humanity, the monstrousness of it all, like how great it all looked for. It had a budget, but it didn't have an astronomical budget.
15 million,
Yeah, like what they
which
were
is
able to
nuts.
pull off, like it looked so good. It was so,
Yeah,
and the acting was great. I won't lie. I watched the dub
yeah,
version. I'm not a dub hater.
yeah,
I
yeah.
do plan. I think when the black and white one comes, I'm gonna watch that subtitled in black and white. Like that'll
Mhm.
be like my purest view.
Yeah,
Because I am very curious to see it. I like the black and white trailer looked real good.
yeah.
But and that was my first foray into Godzilla was those black when my dad showed me those black and white VHS movies.
Mhm.
We rented at Blockbuster. He was like, check this out, you'll dig it. And I did. It was silly, it was cool. And it stuck with me all these years. But yeah, it's I my dad watched it, and he liked it. The whole deal, the time period it was set in, I really dug that. I dug the
Yeah.
World War II setting. I thought that was smart. I
Hmm.
didn't really expect that. So like I really like that, but that whole deal of like your war and when your war is over, and how like sometimes you decide that, like
Right.
you would think like the soldier like, or the war decides when it's over for the
Hmm.
soldier, right? But like, no, like sometimes the soldier has to decide that. I thought that was
Yeah.
incredibly powerful.
Yeah. There was
I
some,
won't
yeah.
spoil it, but I cried.
No,
I cried in the end. I was a
yeah,
sad boy.
I mean, it felt like a period war movie too, like that same kind of thing, like you said. So it just had a lot of really cool things going for it. And it just put a different twist on what we've been used to seeing from these movies.
Yeah.
So it feels really fresh and vibrant and new. Like, we haven't seen that kind of movie, that kind of Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
And I think anytime, you change things up like that, and you make something old seem fresh.
In a monster movie is something kind of silly to
Hmm.
think about being impressed by, right? But you know, horror has always kind of relied on that. The like establishing that humanity, the
Yeah.
realness of the situation. You know, we have to kind of fall in love with people so that we're sad when they die horribly. There's also something I like how you mentioned how like Godzilla just in the open. There's something godlike about kaiju in that sense. They cannot hide.
Right.
They can't hide behind a tree. They can't really hide in a cave.
Hmm.
Godzilla can't even hide in the whole fucking ocean. Like you're gonna see him eventually, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's something very cool about that. And you know, as someone who is a creator in this field, in this niche genre of kaiju storytelling, what is it about that? About like that you can't hide from it, you can't help but be like terrified of it and amazed by it simultaneously. Godzilla is not always spoken about like a villain. You
Right.
know, he's not even spoken about like a rabid dog that
Right.
killed a kid or something, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
he's there's a respect and a reverence. I'm curious as someone who's like, you know, this is your field. You're the master here. So like, teach me, Steve. Like what is it about these like these larger than life, you know, behemoths, you know,
Mhm.
that mystify us so incredibly so.
It's, I mean, it goes back to just, these things that in life that you can't control. And it's about, like horror movies, it's about facing your fears. Like, how do you fight something that's, it's almost existential,
Yeah, it's like fighting inevitability, like
yeah,
inevitability personified, kind of, right? Like,
yeah. And right. And that's what it's like fighting a thunderstorm or something, you can't, but part of the catharsis with these things and being human is that, we can find a way, right? Or we can at least hold it back long enough uh, for a few more years till the sequel comes out. Yeah, I mean,
um,
all this stuff is just, it's cathartic. I mean, I always say Monster Matador is about a matador who fights to make a better world for his daughter, and the metaphor is basically, as a parent, there's a lot of bad shit in the world, and it's futile, right? But you're always
mhm.
trying to fight it. You're always trying to protect your kid from it. But at some point, they get older, and you kind of have to ease them into it, or recognize that they're not kids anymore. And
Mhm.
and and that's kind of the struggle with Ramon, is that no matter how many monsters you fight, there's always going to be another monster. And then that's what these movies, when they're at their best, that's what they're about. And whether you're conscious of it or not, I mean, like something like Nightmare on Elm Street, it's fear. It's fear of dreams, of nightmares, of this and
Mhm.
that, and it's about kids overcoming it, and that's, you feel good at the end of that movie, that like, okay, there is a way. You can find a way to overcome this seemingly impossible thing, right?
Yeah.
There is a way to kill Freddy until the next sequel. You know,
Till he comes
either
back.
no one shows up to the movie and he's dead because that's it, or you know, that's ultimately where these things work. And it has to be about more than just the monster. You know, you can have a great, just cool looking monsters and monsters, but if there's nothing beyond that, if you're not trying to say something else,
Mm-hmm.
the audience is going to feel that. And you know, the original Godzilla was a cathartic movie for Japanese society. You know, after Hiroshima and whatnot. So
Yeah, it was kind of like a
that
metaphor or allegory to all that
yeah,
originally,
it
right?
was.
Like kind of like
Yeah,
their way of dealing with it.
yeah. And the new movie kind of, you know, it kind of leans into that. So I think that's what kind of, you know, elevates it and makes it so relevant, is that whether we're conscious of those things or not, like we understand that, you know, what they're saying, you know.
mm-hmm. There's a lot of culture in the new film, but there's also a lot of
Mm-hmm.
culture just revolving around kaiju specifically. You know, when in your book in Monster Matador, like you deal with like the Hispanic culture, you know, of the being a
Yeah.
matador and then bringing in the luchadors and like all this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Yeah.
this, you know, kaiju. You wouldn't necessarily think of it initially as being like a doorway into culture, like comic
Right.
books are in a sense, right? But it really does work that way because you know, like what's a great way to like see what people are made of than to like put them up against impossible odds or to, you know, like that's why
Yeah. Yeah.
disaster movies are so great, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
we all want to see how the world ends, but we also want to see like how some of us will
Right.
act when the world ends.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like when uh when you're like, you know, is it ever like a hard I didn't see anything in the new one, right? Like I thought the culture was great, like the
Mm-hmm.
found family element was wonderful. You know, and then the relationship and love story, I thought like that was even
Yeah.
organic and didn't beat anything
Mm-hmm.
over the head. I think of very similarly of like Monster Matador, like the struggles of being like a single father and raising a daughter in a shit world is a hard story regularly. Add a bunch of
Yeah.
giant
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking monsters to it, right?
Yeah.
And then like, and someone I still don't know why no one's told poor Ramon that he can use rocket launchers or like jets or like he has
Well,
other
part of I
things.
yeah, I
He
don't know if
just
people
wants the
notice it.
sword.
Yeah, I don't know if people notice it, but like, you know, because we have a lot of guys sometimes with guns or whatever, and they, in our universe, they're pretty ineffective about against the monster.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things people always ask me is just doing it with the cape and sword. Well, you know, when you're fighting a bull, part of the whole thing is they wear the bull down over. It's like a 3 act, you know, play.
Mm-hmm.
They wear the bull down. So when you're kind of seeing the fighting with the gun, they're kind of wearing the monster down a little bit. They're distracting it, or whatever. And at the end, it's the matador who comes in. He's got to get that one little spot. He's got to find that one spot that's just going to take it out. It is the cape and sword, but it's Ramon also. He has to find that one spot,
Yeah.
right? That's going to do the most damage. And it's you know, it's David and Goliath, right? It's a slingshot against the giant. Forget the Bible.
Yeah, David against
yeah,
fucking Godzilla. All
yeah,
right, Father John, I'll
yeah,
fuck around. That was the name of the
yeah,
priest in our church.
yeah. We're going to be replacing the Bible with Monster Matador.
That's gonna be the next Kickstarter. We're gonna do the
yeah,
Kaiju Bible. We're gonna be working with
yeah, yeah,
several
yeah.
publishers to get this. There was just so much charm. It's I always get worried when like movies
Hmm.
do this well. When so many
Yeah,
people
yeah, yeah,
say so many good things about it, that's why
yeah,
I waited to watch Breaking Bad. I did not.
yeah,
That was almost over by the time I started watching it because I was just like, it can't be that good. It can't. And I was like, oh shit, it's that good. And that's
yeah.
how I had a feeling that this movie was going to be that way, you know, because
Hmm.
I wasn't a doubter, but I was just like, I was so excited about it. I was
Yeah,
like watching the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie. You hear all these things, you know,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, like, is it going to sing for me like it sang for these people too? It did. This Godzilla Minus One really did. It
yeah,
sang, it screamed, it serenaded, it did everything I
yeah.
wanted it to. Yeah, it did. It made me cry, it made me smile, made me laugh, made me excited for monster movies.
Yeah.
It made me excited for Godzilla again. It just
I think it completely not just reinvigorated, kind of brought it back into the conversation in a different way, in a more positive way to people who aren't normally embracing those kinds of movies. Are like, oh wow, this is I think kaiju's are cool, you know. And
mhm.
I see that at when I do cons and things like that. People are I used to have to explain to more people what a kaiju is, where people are now like, yeah, kaiju, I love it. Godzilla, I love that movie. People, I hear that so much now.
Nice. That's good. I'm glad, giant robots and kaiju are just things
Yeah,
that the world needs more of. I keep hoping for that one, we got like in comics, we got the Power Rangers Godzilla crossover,
right,
but just
right.
like I do not understand why Gundam haven't fought Godzilla or
Yeah,
teamed up. I just, it's totally
yeah, yeah,
different. It has nothing to do with Godzilla minus one. This is just the way my brain
yeah,
works, and it's something I think
yeah,
about sometimes. My first foray into all this was Neon Genesis Evangelion. Still to this day, that's a very important saga to me.
yeah,
The remakes I loved,
yeah.
and but also like the kaiju does not have to have the giant robot, and the giant robot does not have to have the kaiju to be
Right,
successful. I do
right.
fucking love it when they get together and party, though. I won't lie.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
but
mean, I want Legendary to bring in Mecha God,
oh
more
yeah.
Mecha Godzilla and stuff. Yeah,
But yeah, it's a great time for kaiju fans, and
yeah,
I hope some of that love is going your way, Steven. Like,
yeah,
I hope like everybody talking about Godzilla minus one somehow turns into like, have you heard about this Matador who fights giant kaiju? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You definitely see the profile on Kaiju stuff having been raised because of that movie. I think
nice.
more and more people are drawn
Do you think the next like
to that genre.
westernized Godzilla, Kong, whatever comes out next, do you think they're gonna have to rethink that a little bit, or do you think they're gonna stay with that kind of silliness that because they're two very
Oh,
different
I don't know.
movies,
The
right?
nice thing about the genre is that
They can do
you,
whatever.
they have your Godzilla minus one universe, which is its own thing, and I mean the legendary universe is fun as hell. I mean
Yeah, it's
it's
crazy. It's just like,
like it works and people
yeah,
love it. Like there's room for both. I mean that's the great thing about the genres, that there's room for a lot of different interpretations. You can do new things.
you
You can
would
bring a
think.
matador into it. You can do
Yeah,
robots. You can do whatever. I mean, it's the strength of the underlying core, which is really just kind of like fucking overcoming challenges.
the only way we can deal with being human is in the face of an adversary that's nothing like us. We are a
Yeah, there you
weird,
go.
we're the weird creatures, not Godzilla. He's just a
Yeah,
lovable
yeah,
guy. He just wants belly rubs. I know he does. That's
yeah,
why that's why America made him fat. I guess technically it's a she because it lays a, but I
yeah. It
guess
is a she. Yeah, yeah,
lizards are weird anyway. They can be both kind of. I
yeah,
don't know. I don't care. I don't, whatever Godzilla wants to be Godzilla. I'm not going to tell him no, her no. I'm not going to tell it anything because it's not real. But even
yeah.
if it was,
Well,
I'd be
we don't know
respectful.
that yet, but yeah,
That's true. Godzilla could be hanging out with the
yeah,
Loch
yeah,
Ness monster and Bigfoot
yeah,
at poker. That could be a weird poker
yeah,
night.
yeah. I'm
Um,
gonna hedge my bets there. Yo,
well,
I
Steven,
believed in you.
yeah, like,
That's like being brought up with like religion. It's that you always got to hedge your bets just in case,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
like that's like drill that shit
Don't
into you.
ever swear it off because he might be watching. I already fucked
Right.
that one up, but I've done
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I
I did
think
that
yeah, we all
live.
did.
It's
Yeah.
one of the things I was so excited about watching Godzilla minus one was getting to eventually talk to you about it, just because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I was excited to know, I knew you liked it, but kind of what you thought made it special, because regardless of what anybody's saying, it is a special movie. Yeah, everybody go check this out. If you love kaiju, if you love giant monsters, you got to follow Steven. Check out Monster Matador. I guess if you're not following me, you may as well do that too. Subscribe to Blake's Buzz on YouTube. Follow me, loving comic books, anywhere and everywhere you can find me, or Facebook, Blake Morgan. I think actually that's a lie. My Facebook's under an alias. But I think you can still find it under Blake's Buzz. It's named after my dead dog. Thanks for making me live through that, chat. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Everybody, like, we will be back later. Love more, hate less, read comics. I love you. Check out Steven. Check out the Kickstarter. Check out Godzilla minus one. Let me know what you think about it. If you like it, dig it. If it resonates. If you don't like it, I don't need to hear about that part. No, I'm just kidding. Say that shit for yourself. No, it's we all have different tastes. It's fine. We're not gonna like the same things, but you probably will like
some
this
have better
because it's really good. Especially if you liked like Shin Godzilla and the kind of weirder
yeah
stuff that's come out before. Like this will be everything you've wanted.